We're going to talk about how you can identify your psychic abilities by your human design chart. And they're just right there in your chart for you to be able to see. So I'm going to pull up my own chart here in a moment, but I will tell you there's two ways. There are two ways that you can see it. And by the way, you have all of the abilities. You have all of the psychic abilities. You just may have one or two, or sometimes people have more, one, two, three, whatever. You may have a few that are more dominant than others. Now, having some that are more dominant than others doesn't mean you don't have the others. I have two hands. I'm right-handed. I use my right hand a lot. Do I not have a left hand just because I'm right-handed? No, I use my left hand a lot too. But if I'm going to pick up this glass, I have it on my right side because I did that without even thinking about it. There would be a spot here for me to put it on the left, but I put it on the right. So it's how I reach for things if I only need one hand for it. But guess what? If something is heavy, or something is important, or something is precious, or I need to reach for it a little more, I'm going to use both hands. This is heavy. I'm going to pick it up with both hands, you know? So as I mentioned, my dominant sense for psychic intuitive abilities is clairsentience. And so I'm using that all the time, and I have to fill that bucket up. If it's a heavy thing, then I have to use my subdominant, which is clairaudience, clairvoyance, these other ones. They add to your dominant one. Your subdominants are present and they are adding to, they're outpicturing, they're filling them out in more detailed ways. So the long story short here is that how do you, the listener question was, how can you recognize what psychic abilities you have that you aren't aware of? Well, if there are any that you're not aware of, you're not recognizing them. You have them all. They're all adding to your ability to perceive the world of spirit, the world of the non-physical. As a clairsentient, dominantly clairsentient, just like I need to pick this up, or I need to pick up this, and I need to pick up this. I got some different things to do. Then that is like when I'm feeling something and I will feel that it's Archangel Michael and I know the words. And so I'm putting it through my clairaudient centers, or I feel something and I might see a symbol, or I feel something and then I see that the person is standing on the right side of my sitter who is receiving the mediumship, and they're standing on the right side and they're on the family tree over here. And so that is giving me, first of all, I have a felt sense that it is like an uncle energy or a friend energy, and they're standing in that position. And then as I ask them to come closer, I feel them more. They come closer, and I see that they're doing a certain gesture or they're wearing something. Now, that's how things work. But sometimes I just see sudden images in my mind, sure, but I've probably already felt it first. It's just that it's all... Now, other people who are dominantly clairvoyant, they see details really quickly, and then they have to have meaning, you see? So there's no wrong way about this. And with that, in a set, I will show you and tell you about the different indications that are available in your human design chart. And so I'm going to share my own chart as the example, so as not to, tell anybody else's business. Oh, actually, you know what? I'll share my husband's too. I am volunteering him. So here's my human design chart. So there are two ways. The first way I want to tell you about is, because it's more obvious in my chart, are the open centers. The centers that are, undefined is the better way to say it. 70% of the population have an undefined head center. And the head center is the one that's at the top, and it's a triangle with its point upward. And you can't see my pointer, I guess. But anyway, so that is the one at the top. And you see, of course, all of my centers are white because I'm a reflector. So when the center is undefined, when it's white and not colored in, then that is one of the ways that you don't have a filter between yourself and the field of energy. And let's see if I can get my husband's to turn up here. Yeah, so here's my husband's chart. He also has that center at the top that is not colored in. He has a couple of gates colored in there, the red dots. The red dots, the gates, are the other way that you can see what those dominant abilities are. And I would say that the gates are making it a little more dominant than even just the open centers, just a little more though. But the gates are, and the way that the gates work, and it's not all of the gates in your chart, I'm going to tell you which ones, but the way the gates that are indicate psychic abilities work is that they work for yourself first, and then they can be turned outward. And just let that sit with you. I have a much deeper lessons on this inside my courses. But anyway, the ones that have, where the centers are undefined, it's like not having a filter. And so that actually works kind of outward first, and then you can understand what is for you. And if you are a hypnotherapist, because I have a lot of hypnotherapists who listen, because I am a graduate of HMI College of Hypnotherapy, and I'm an instructor there. It is actually the centers that are undefined. It's a very literal and direct way that you're bringing in energy. And then the gates are a little more inferential because you process it first. But you can make the gates, those indications of psychic abilities, work as a skill for others as well. So now, let me tell you about the gates, the particular gates. Well, actually, all of the centers are pulling in energy along the lines of whatever their processing is about. So at the top here, the head, that is sight, that would be clairvoyance, but it's also claircognizance. Same thing with ajna, the second chakra down, the second energy center. One of those gates is an indication of clairvoyant. Sorry, I'm multitasking here. This is as you guys know, excuse me, I meant to say that it is actually an indication of claircognizance. And then, of course, we have the emotional center. If you had that undefined, that would be a way that you are an empath. But then we have the clairsentient gate. So let me break some of that down for you. I'll go back to my chart, and I will begin to, if you want to take notes, obviously you can. You could look this up somewhere else, but I'm gonna walk you through it. My chart is, so yes, I have at least it's I have the unfiltered sense of everything because of being a reflector. Then the gates that indicate psychic abilities are all of the ones that are in the head center. There are 3. All 3 of those indicate clairvoyance. And one of those indicates clairvoyance and claircognizance. And the one that indicates clairvoyance and claircognizance is the one that's in the very middle. It's gate number 61. So in the head, we have 64, 61, and 63. All 3 indicate clairvoyance, and 61 is clairvoyance and clairaudience. Excuse me, clairvoyance and claircognizance. Okay? So that is the first set that we'll talk about. Then we'll go to the next set, claircognizance. So, of course, we already said 61 in the head is one of the claircognizant gates. Another claircognizant gate is 24, and that one is in the ajna, and it is actually on the same line as gate 61. So if you have this 6124 channel, that is like such, your clairvoyance is off the charts and your claircognizance off the charts. Now, if you had that whole channel, you wouldn't have then your head center would necessarily be defined, but you would then have this strong channel and 2 strong gates. So you see, this is, before I move on, why I say no matter what, everyone is clairvoyant to some degree, because if you have the head open like I do, that means I have an unfiltered sense of the clair visual world, but I don't have one of the gates. My husband, on the other hand, has both. He has an undefined head center. Let me pull his chart back up. And he has the 61, which is clairvoyance and claircognizance, and he has clairvoyance with 63. And he is much more visual than I am. So this is what's really cool. My husband is able to do this thing that I can't do in the real world, but it's still, again, using his non-physical or his intuitive abilities, in the sense that he's not using them to perceive spirit, but he's using them to perceive and review what's in the non-physical world. So he is able to go, like he plays tennis. He's playing tennis, and then they go, oh, that was a close call. What do you guys think it was? He can stop and like review the tape that's in his head. I don't have a tape in my head. I can't review. I don't know what happened. What do you mean? But see, he's got that. He's got all of these layers of how that non-physical sensing is. So, okay, moving on now with, we have again 3 gates of claircognizance, 61 in the head, 24 in the ajna, and then there's another one that is in the spleen, which is 32. And my husband has that one too, so we'll keep his chart up here. The spleen is down at the lower side of the chart, and it's the triangle that is on the left as you look at it. And 32 is down in there. Now, that is one of the claircognizant gates, and what's interesting is because this is the oldest center, it's very primal, so it might even be a primal kind of instinctive knowing. We'll move on now to the next set, which will be Clairsentience. Clairsentience is indicated by, of course, the open or undefined, especially the emotional center, but it's also these other two, like the heart will center and the identity center. That's going to pull in empathic information. The actual solar plexus, which is the emotional solar plexus, that is the triangle toward the bottom that is on the left, on the right. That one is going to be emotional energy. So you will be an emotional empath if you have that uncolored, undefined. But then, yeah, you're going to be sensing a lot of energies with the small triangle above it and then the bigger square that is right in the middle, like right in the middle. That's the identity center. But especially as an emotional empath, that is the undefined emotional solar plexus. However, the gate that indicates clairsentience is gate 19, which is down here in the root. And so I have that one defined, and I also have an undefined emotional solar plexus. And besides I have the 19 defined, I have it actually 3 times in my planetary gates. So again, it stands to reason with all of these undefined centers, as well as 3 clairsentient activations, why I'm so clairsentient, right? So there you go. There's that next one. And then we also have clairolfactance. And clairolfactance is both taste and scent, because honestly your palette of smelling and tasting they very much overlap. In fact, you smell hundreds of things, you really only taste 5 things. So I would say it's mostly smell, but it is also translated to taste. Anyway, the clairolfactance is also in the spleen, and I think my husband has that one, so I'll pull up his chart. It is also in the spleen, and it is gate 44. Does he have it? Yes, he does. That's right. I knew he did. So again, spleen being the oldest center, very primal, and you might have a sense of things. Now, one thing, this one is also very instinctive. It may not only be about smell. It's also like kind of how something smells off. If you say that, you're actually picking it up in that primal clairolfactant way. So there's that one. And then there's actually a couple more. Oh, I should say that back to gate 19, which is the clairsentient one, there are other really amazing things that happen with this gate 19. There is a genetic predisposition for synesthesia, meaning your senses overlap, both your physical senses and your non-physical or your psychic senses. And also gate 19 is deeply, deeply connected to all of the realms. So the mammalian realm, the nature realms, and the fairy and angelic realms. So those are different kinds of intuitive abilities, but again, those dominant abilities are indicated by gate 19. We have 2 more that are connections to the realms of nature. So basically like being a nature psychic. And that could be animals. It can be, again, these fairy and nature spirit kingdoms, but just nature and all of its elements. And one of them is gate 15, which I have here. This is called the identity center, also called the G center. It's the very middle of the chart here. It's the square that's turned on its side. There's where 15 is. And then also gate 5, which is in the sacral. And I don't have that one colored in. And these are both about cycles. They're about natural cycles. And they both have a different texture of how they are connected and read the natural cycles. And then, of course, it's the natural cycles plus all of the other elements of nature. Does my husband have 5? No, he doesn't. Okay, that's right, because he has a 15, and he is a projector. All right, there you go. Let me know what you guys think of that. If you have any questions, we got like a kind of a masterclass going on here today, right? So I want to see, Alana says, are these written in stone? Can we develop regardless? Absolutely. Absolutely, we can develop regardless. And as I said, you do have all of them. You absolutely have all of them. And you know what's really fascinating is that sometimes people who are born blind their clairvoyance is so keen, and that's because they aren't distracted by physical sight. And they can, you can do like tests with them. So it's really cool that, I don't know, that's kind of a side note. But yes, absolutely. You have all of the psychic abilities. And if you don't believe me just saying that, then maybe you can believe me experientially. Because the only thing I have indicated as definitely a dominant in the sense of it being a gate is 19. Well, I also have 15, which is one of the animal psychic or nature psychic gates. But the other ones, the open and defined centers, are also ways that you can bring in. But again, they're a little more subdominant, but they would be dominant in the overall aspect of it. I know someone who is a client and a student who's a reflector, and so she also has all of those undefined centers, and she doesn't have any of the psychic gates. And it's like she has them all equally dominant, and it's really cool. It's very cool the way she works. So 100%, the spoiler alert answer to the question is, how do we know which senses, psychic abilities we have that we aren't recognizing? It is, if there's any that you think that you don't have, those are the ones you're not recognizing because you have them all. So those are 3 of the ways that you can discover what your psychic abilities are. I hope you enjoyed that.